Good afternoon, I'm John Canties. This is your Mountain State Update for April 2nd, 2017, your Sunday political sermon. And today I'm joined by host of The Brew, Aaron Brewster.
Hello.
And public news correspondent Dan Hyman.
Greetings, a little scoff for you people out there.
Yeah, we may have some more people coming in later on. And today we're going to be talking about Michael Flynn requesting and being denied immunity. Donald Trump.
This was denied?
When was it denied? When?
A few days ago. Really? Donald Trump loosening restrictions.
I need to pay more attention to the news.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
God,
That's what we're for. We're going to talk about restrictions on military strikes in the Middle East being loosened, which has led to more than a modest uptick in civilian deaths, and Democratic senators' resistance to Gorsuch Supreme Court nomination. But first, the Trump tweet of the week, a.k.a. Tiny-Handed Bully Report.
Tiny-Handed Bully Report.
When Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd and at NBC News start talking about the Obama surveillance scandal and stop with the fake Trump-Russia story.
Interesting.
He's still at it. That was yesterday, by the way. After all the stuff came out about how the wiretap thing is nonsense.
Yeah.
And after so much has come out about the Russia thing not being nonsense.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's interesting to me is that it's looking more and more like, the information that Devin Nunes gave to the press, and which is endangering his position in consulting with the White House about the investigation, and the information he gave out before he actually gave it to the other members of the committee, and endangering his position as the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee.
Yeah, I mean, that was so obviously, we actually know now that he was at the White House the day before.
Right. Well, it's beginning to look more and more like a White House plant.
Oh, I mean,
that's
exactly what it is.
Yeah, that they actually they gave that information to him, and then they were surprised. Oh, Devin Nunes is saying this, and this is going to, reinforce. And the point I'd like to make about that story, just very quickly, is that we're starting to see, especially based on the information that Nunes released, that if there was surveillance of Trump, it was incidental to surveillance of foreigners, and if there was any surveillance of Trump Tower, it was because they were in contact with people who were being investigated.
Right. And
the question, therefore, is why were people in Trump Tower in contact with people who were being investigated?
Sure.
That is a great question.
And this is it's not that Obama, even if you believe Nunes, and even if you believe the more extreme interpretation of what Nunes said, it's not that Obama ordered investigation of Trump because he was running for president. It's because Trump and people around Trump were talking to people who were under investigation.
If Nunes is completely right, that doesn't negate the real issue here.
Right.
Which is that
Russian contacts.
Right. Well, it's looking like more than this, just that.
Yeah, it's not Russian contacts. It's more
As
than
of now, that's all we can definitively say, but it's at that stage where it's like, we can't definitively say there was collusion, but we have all the ingredients of collusion except the smoking gun right now.
And
it's just a matter of time.
Exactly.
The House investigation is probably gone. Okay. Yeah. It may not be. I don't know. I'm for the sake of argument, I'm going to say it is. But the Senate investigation is probably fine. Yeah. We have people in the Senate. Trump has so many enemies. He's created so many enemies. But the minute he walked in the White House, they're all his. All these people are his enemies. Except for very few, a few people who see a way that they can benefit from him in the short term, which I guess Nunes miscalculated and thought maybe he was going to be able to,
Nunes just looks like a fool.
Right. And I think...
And that's the interpretation I'm seeing from a lot of...
He was pretty fair under the Obama administration, wasn't he?
Well, he pursued a lot of the Benghazi stuff.
Did he? Okay. Never mind.
And then Trump comes in and he says, well, we don't need this investigation initially.
Right.
So it starts to, he doesn't look like the brightest light on the brightest porch light on the block.
Right.
So
I like that metaphor. It's good.
Yeah, not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
A few fries short of a Happy Meal.
Yes. So let's
You guys
move
could go on with this all day long,
We can
couldn't
talk
you?
about this stuff, the tiny fingered bully report, and I start to.
Actually, I'm going to be a tiny fingered bully for a minute,
Go
and
ahead.
I wanted to mention really quickly
Yes.
that to our listeners out there, and there are so many, we are in the midst of the WTSQ Fund Drive.
Yes, we're gonna
so
do-
show us a little love.
And if you want
WTSQ.org.
if you want your tiny fingered bully weekly report
Exactly.
to remain on the air,
Right.
if you want to get your tiny fingered bully report every week, get your dose of outrage for your Sunday.
I love Tiny Fingered Bully Report. I love it.
Then the tweet of the week. Then we want you to support.
Right,
it.
and make sure you
Go
follow
to-
us. Follow us on Twitter at Mountain State Up. You can tweet us with something you want us to argue about here on the
Yeah,
air. We can do
yeah.
that. If you
We
agree
can
with
argue
me,
about
go ahead.
anything.
We can. Anything.
Tweet us with questions about how much to give
Sure.
to WTSQ at the
Yes.
website WTSQ.
Or if you would like to be a guest on Mountain State Updates and give your own opinions, how would you do that? You would give $150.
All right, sure.
You don't have any choice. It's already on the. It's already
You
on
can
the
have
thing.
you can have my seat for $150. It's probably even cheaper than
God,
that.
I'm out for 1 week, and Aaron and Dan take over the
Hey,
whole
man.
show.
I warned you this would happen.
This is not even my show anymore. Okay,
I'm sorry.
it's all right.
We love Aaron.
President
Did a good
Donald. Let's talk about Michael Flynn here. We touched on it earlier.
Yes.
He requested immunity. He was denied immunity.
That's
And now we
news to
see,
me.
I just saw this morning, Reuters reporting that he did not include receiving thousands of dollars in speaking fees from 3 Russian companies in his initial financial disclosures to the Office of Government Ethics. And Flynn's initial disclosures, which he submitted in mid-February, left out that he received money from Russia's state-funded television network, RT, for speech in Moscow, and from air cargo company VDA, I'm just going to make it an acronym, and cybersecurity from Kaspersky Government Security Solutions Incorporated for speaking engagements in the United States. So, yet another thing that there's no reason to lie about or leave out or omit unless there's something going on. There's no reason to lie about this.
That's
Democrats
the thing.
we were just hammering Mitt Romney not that long ago for being hyperbolic about Russia. We are not. There's no reason to lie about Russia unless you're up to something. You know,
There's
Russia's
no
not
reason to
inherently
lie
bad.
anyway. That's what I don't understand about some of these decisions. Is you're right. There's no reason to lie.
Right.
Because none of what he's done is illegal. I mean, you can take this money
Well-
for speaking fees. But here's the thing.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with speaking fees.
Are we not going to find out about it? Why in the world do you lie?
Right.
And this was, without a doubt, a lie.
That's-
Even though it was an omission, it was a lie.
Right.
Why
my
in the
thing.
world do you lie about something that we are certainly going to find out about? That is something that boggles my mind. I cannot get my head around that.
The only thing I can think of is if you don't lie about it and you put it out there for everyone to see and you know you're up to something, you have a 100% chance of getting caught. If you lie about it, maybe they won't find out. You got a 10, 15% chance of not getting caught. That's still not good, but that's better than 100% of getting caught, right?
Right.
So that's kind of how the calculation they're probably making, or some form of that. You know, I'm not in their shoes.
Well, that is, and Aaron's point is good here because, if this had been a failure to disclose this connection, if this had been, he didn't put it down on that line in the form, then in ordinary circumstances, maybe he gets in trouble a little bit. Maybe, there are people who call for further investigations, but he amends the form and we go on. Right, it's a one-day story. Now it's no longer a one-day story. Now it's Watergate.
I think that's because it's not a one-day story, clearly.
Oh, I don't think it is.
But again, I just don't. I don't understand the mindset. Sometimes I honestly think I do not understand the mindset of these people. They do things that are so nonsensical to me.
Well, so many of these
that
people in this
really
administration are amateurs. I mean, that's just the
Right.
bottom line. So, like, Bannon
Yeah, some
doesn't
of this
know
is
how this stuff
definitely
works.
Novice.
Yes.
mistakes.
They're amateurs. That's why they're messing up
And
so
here's
much.
the thing: it's like I'm an amateur too, and I could not go in there and do any of these jobs, and I'm not pretending that I could. But what I would do is know that I was not capable of doing the job. And if I found myself in a position where I had to do it for whatever reason, I would surround myself with people who knew exactly how to do my job and could shepherd me through this.
The
People
best
that
people.
I trusted,
Terrific
people that I
people.
trusted, wonderful people,
best
smart people, the best people. I got all the best people. But you can avoid some of this.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have
Well-
to be, you don't have to know everything about everything, and nobody expects you
It's
to.
the arrogance of them thinking
Yeah,
they can just run
absolutely.
roughshod and just take this whole thing over and just and be great at it. And they're so bad at it.
Speaking of Watergate, there was a comparison. I think I may have used this on the show before, but there was a Republican politician who said, who was asked. I think he gave this anonymously to a reporter, but he said, the Trump administration, Donald Trump, you take Richard Nixon at the pit of Watergate paranoia, subtract 50 IQ points, and add Twitter. I mean, that's kind of the way he looks. I mean, this is not, and this business about there's a certain level of if you just deny it hard enough, then maybe it'll go away. Which,
When you're campaigning, that might
to
work.
give him
Right.
credit, he's gotten away with a lot of things that would have sunk a normal human being.
Right.
The great ship Donald Trump. That would have sunk an ordinary politician, and yet he managed to get away with it just by sort of denying, like this business about claiming that Obama was wiretapping him. This is obviously something that he's saying that is going to have currency among the hardcore of his base, the alt-right,
Right.
the people who pay.
It doesn't matter
attention
what
to those
happens after
websites.
that to them.
Right.
They heard him say it.
They heard him say it, so it's true.
And it becomes lore.
Right.
It's Donald Trump
Right.
lore now.
Yeah, but I mean, those people are not going to be. They're not going to support Hillary Clinton anyway.
Right.
Or whoever arises to be Donald Trump's foe. They're not going to. They would never vote for Elizabeth Warren, right? So I don't know what the point of continuing to froth those people up, other than sort of muddying
he needs
the
his
water.
he needs his validation.
I think
right?
that's absolutely right, John.
He
I
needs his
think-
yes people.
Yes, and who said that? Howard Stern said that.
Oh, yeah.
He basically said that he worries about Donald Trump in the White House, worries about him personally. I guess they're friends, maybe, and that is something that he needs
doesn't
is
have the
constant
personality.
validation,
Yeah.
Right.
and yes,
He's way
so
too
that's
insecure.
why he's continuing to run for the office he already has won,
Right.
and
That's the only part he knows how to do. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's the part that's clearly the part
And to
he's
give
best
him
at.
credit, he's been good at
he
it.
did a hell of a job.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna come back and we're gonna do a little pitch, and then we'll talk about some Democrats. So give us 1 minute here. We'll be right back. We're on WTSQ
We don't like anybody.
88.1. Here at WTSQ, we have a little philosophy that I have. I really enjoy things that are supported by the people that consume it. This is something that we're seeing in a lot of aspects of media. A lot of great films, a lot of great big projects are crowdsourced. We're seeing things like Indiegogo, things like Kickstarter. People who want
It's
the
a new
content
world.
are supporting it. That's what we're doing at WTSQ. We are supported entirely by the community. We're supported by the people who take in the content. We're not supported by corporations who want to manipulate the content, like you'll get with some other outlets that I probably shouldn't mention. But it's
All of them, except for maybe one.
right, right.
Commercial radio.
No point. Right. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that format. Whatever. You can have that if you want that. That's fine. that exists. Their doors are open simply because of Pfizer.
They can sell ads.
Right, pharmaceutical industries and all that. If you want to take in that content, that's up to you. But we're supported by the people who listen to us.
We don't
Small
take
donations.
money we don't take money from Pfizer. We don't take money from used car dealers.
Wait, are they offering? I'm kidding. Hold on.
Wait, hold on a second.
After they hear this show, I don't think they will.
I don't know.
But, and that's fine because we've proven many times over that this kind of thing can work. This kind of format can work. This sort of this method of funding things can work. Yeah. Look at Bernie Sanders.
Yay.
He didn't have a single corporation. He didn't have any support. He went up against the most well-oiled political machine on the planet, Hillary Clinton, and got 22 states simply because people were sending $27, $30, whatever. We're asking the same thing. We want people that are already happy with this and want to help us make it better to support us, and then we support you, right?
Absolutely. And there are so many ways to do that. Go to WTSQ.org and then click on the donate icon. That'll take you to our Indiegogo site, which is where we're running our fund drive. There's all kinds of great perks on there you can get for a $40 donation. You can get an awesome WTSQ t-shirt that has a great woodcut that was made especially for us by a loyal listener in the Beckley area. There's some other perks off to the side that you can take a look at and see.
Go to WTSQ.org. There's a big old Indiegogo link right there. Click on it.
Can't miss it.
Very easy to use, very intuitive.
Right. And then also later today, we will be having, we get some perks that are things you want to see before you commit.
Right.
So we are going to have an auction on Facebook. And we're going to host it at the Brew WTSQ. My page is going to host it with items that a number of DJs have brought in, all kinds of great items, and we're going to auction those off. And every item was donated, every penny goes to WTSQ. So those will be up probably around 2 this afternoon, and we'll stay up till around 2 tomorrow. So go visit the Brew WTSQ's Facebook page. Later on this afternoon, we've got toys, limited edition comic book and DVD sets, a Mardi Gras casino basket valued at $500, handmade jewelry, original art, tickets to things, gift certificates to Yared's, Lost Time Tattoos, Sierra Salon, all kinds of great businesses that want to support WTSQ.
Great. That's really, and I just have to double check, but I think we are tax exempt, right?
We are a 501c3, so
501c3, so you can write us off of your taxes.
Write us right off.
If you're doing your taxes right now, if you're getting ready to, if you're getting ready to do your taxes now, and you want to be investigated by the IRS under Donald Trump, you can. That's a joke. That's a joke, people. I know that the media has become our media environment has become extremely paranoid. But
we can say what we want, but we're too poor to get audited.
That's a good point. But if you want to write us off on your taxes, write off the donation. You can do that.
And this is a time when I think we can all admit some community voices, community radio, community media like this. This has never, probably in my lifetime. I don't know about your all's, but definitely my lifetime. This is the most important something like this has ever been, because these corporations that run these other media companies, you don't think they have an investment, you don't think they have an agenda when it comes to things like TPP, you don't think they have a preference when it comes to who gets nominated for the Democratic Party or whatever, what have you.
Right.
They, good people are there as well. I'm not saying it's all bad, but we don't have any part of anything like that.
No.
We talk to you, we give it to you straight, And I put on the show, no one tells me what I can't say on here.
Right.
No one says, hey, don't talk about that. That's going to upset, this random person who gives us money. We are the way we are, and then people want to support it. As opposed to people giving us money in exchange for being a certain way.
There are organizations in this state, there are organizations in this city, there are organizations in this building, in the Union Building.
Yes.
That receive corporate money for pursuing a particular political agenda. And if we wanted to take that route, there's a lot of money there to be had.
Oh yeah.
But we don't.
Right.
This is not what we do. I didn't get into journalism to get rich.
Right.
And believe me,
Good.
it's worked out.
What's so important is that WTSQ allows not just us, but everyone who's on here a platform
Right.
to say what you want to say, play what you want to play.
Right.
The
That's
music
something
is important too.
That's something I don't talk a lot about on this show. Is that this is really there's a lot of music on WTSQ. That's really 80% of it.
Right.
And it's music that you're not going to hear anywhere else.
Absolutely.
Personally, I'm not a huge music guy, but plenty of people around here are. And the music that I do hear on this station is interesting and it's different. I like the stuff that comes on after my show. This bluegrass honky tonk stuff.
Yeah,
it's
where
it's
else are you
real.
going to have a rockabilly show?
Right.
There's a rockabilly show on Sunday afternoons, and where are you going to have that?
Right.
Besides
Absolutely.
WTSQ?
And you're not
in
going to hear
Charleston.
bands like the Sex Pistols, and you're not going to hear
Right.
merging bands and
local bands like
Local
Quiet
bands.
and all these
bands.
local bands that are really
Exactly.
talented.
So
Company
many great
stores.
local bands.
And this is rapidly. This was interesting that you mentioned that there's a woodblock print, a T-shirt with a woodblock print done by a local artist that just volunteered that. This radio station, as we're speaking, is turning into a hub of the kind of Charleston, the kind of West Virginia we want to build.
That's
Right.
absolutely right. And that's true regardless of your stance on any particular
Right.
issue. I
Right.
think that we can all agree, most of us can agree, I should never say all, but I think that most of us can agree that we want an independent voice or the
Wait,
ability,
what are you talking about?
the ability
Get
to
outta
say
here.
what
Get outta
we want
here.
to say.
Independent voices.
I may not always agree with it,
You're
but
right. Exactly.
That's
I
fine though.
want to be able to hear it. I
would
want to be able
rather-
to hear the sides.
I'd rather disagree with somebody who's genuinely saying what they're saying any day of the week than sit there and have an argument with somebody who doesn't care
Who's a corporate
about what
shell,
they're
yeah.
saying, who's just saying that because they were either told they have to say that or they were told they can't say anything else.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Any day of the week, give me somebody who's
And
genuinely
you
wrong.
can always find those voices. If you want a
Right.
voice of somebody who's a professional PR person, bred and groomed practically, who knows what they're talking about and is pursuing a set of specific talking points.
And then
You-
you've got
you can
us,
always-
ungroomed, completely ungroomed, not groomed
No
at
grooming.
all.
This is the
no
land of
grooming
the
allowed.
wild hair.
Right.
Yeah, this is who we are.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna cut back out, and then we're gonna come back and we'll continue with the show.
And no snakes, beware your snakes. Man, you gotta slow it down. 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 It's still time to get it right. Shut your burn and unify. Suffering is not life. You gotta slow it down.
Little
All right.
quiet, little community radio playing a local band.
Quiet. Quiet. That's how you spell
How
it.
cool is that?
Yeah. You don't. There's no U. In quiet.
And I defy you to tell me, where they would be consistently played anywhere else.
Yeah, you want to hear the same 10 Van Halen songs, go somewhere else. Yeah, you'll get that on any other station.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Van Halen, I'm just saying. But, okay, so
Yes.
back to the show here. You're listening to the Mountain State Update, WTSQ 88.1. This is your political sermon for April 2nd, 2017. Right now we're going to talk about the Democrats planning to filibuster Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch, which normally I would say don't do that.
Yeah.
But I don't want anybody I say don't support any nomination to the Supreme Court unless his name is Merrick Garland.
Yeah.
This guy, Neil, what's his name? Neil Gorsuch. That's not Merrick Garland. That's a different name. They took this nomination and go ahead, filibuster it. Now what's the outcome of this? Go ahead and filibustering it. Nuclear option, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The Republicans are going
That's
to
the
change the
risk.
rules so that they can get it with 51 votes instead of 60.
Yeah.
Now, everyone, Dan, this is a question for you. I don't understand. There's supposedly this big stigma on changing the rules, and if you change the rules and you don't allow the filibuster and you change it to 51 votes, which they can get, what happens to them that's bad? To me, that seems like they're just going to do it and no one's going to care. What's going to happen to them if they do that?
The risk and the argument you'll hear, and I
Just because it's mean?
Well, no. I mean, this is What this is the old saying, politics ain't beanbag. This is whatever the heck beanbag is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think I understand what they mean, but I don't know.
I mean, politics is raw power politics.
Right.
This is Mitch McConnell demonstrating that he has the ability to do this. Now, the reason, typically you'll hear a number of arguments made that, this goes against the comity, the tradition of the
Right.
Senate as being a place where people get along and they try to reach consensus, and they, and you have cooperation across the aisles, and it'll make that more difficult. But the real major objection is that when the Republicans lose the Senate, if they invoke the nuclear option, then the Democrats will then not have to obey the filibuster rules.
Right.
Because then the rule will be changed
For
Right.
everybody. Yeah.
Right. And
And that's, in fact, what you're
And
trying to solve.
I do agree, and not agree. I mean, obviously, this is simply true. I would even lend more credence to the idea that the Senate has always been viewed as very gentlemanly. Excuse the term.
At least more so than the House.
Yes, and that
Gentlemanly
we
is the
follow
appropriate
the
term,
rules.
because
That we
generally
follow the
is an old
rules.
boys'
They're the
club.
adults.
Yes.
We are the adults in the room, and we follow the rules, and the rules say this. And so they are loath in most cases to go against that. The thing that worries me, though, is, starting this January, everything was a whole new ballgame.
Yeah.
Those types of considerations in some ways went out the window. And I think it will depend on who's wielding the ultimate power. Who is going to make that ultimate decision? Is it Mitch McConnell? Is it somebody else? Is it a group of
It's a
people?
hot potato.
Yeah.
Whoever does it might lose their next election.
And
okay.
Mitch McConnell was not, the strongest candidate on God's earth.
What was Grimes did
Allison
relatively well against him. She wasn't even that good, in my opinion, but she did. She
Right.
came up on him.
Yeah.
So I think that there is a little bit
Well,
of
there should
concern
be
about
concern.
that. Concern about possible backlash. If I'm the executioner, I'm going to have to live with what I have wrought.
Right.
And
So
I think
the wind reap the whirlwind.
And here's the thing about Neil Gorsuch is they made it very clear, meaning the Trump administration, that they intended to nominate another Scalia, and that's what they've done.
Right. He's not as overt.
Right.
But I mean, he was there with the Hobby Lobby thing, right?
Absolutely,
I mean, that was ridiculous.
He absolutely
that
was.
A ridiculous
It was
thing.
ridiculous. But here's the flip side to that. It's playing devil's advocate for a minute. Obviously, I don't agree with Gorsuch politically, but we'll say this: he is qualified for the job, eminently qualified for the job.
Technically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's exactly what they told you were getting.
Right. Right.
There are worse choices out there.
Sure.
I will say that. There are worse
Roy
choices
Moore.
out there. And so
I was afraid it was going to be worse, to be honest. I was
Yes.
somewhat relieved, not that much relieved, but somewhat relieved
was
that
a
it wasn't
smart
an
pick.
insane person.
I think that he
It
is.
was a smart
Yes.
After seeing these
He
cabinet
is a-
picks, I was afraid this was going to be another
Agreed.
cray-cray.
And I think that that's the other thing that you have to keep in mind
Right,
is
right.
that we've got somebody that we don't like, but we ain't getting anybody we like.
Yeah.
So we've got somebody who is not crazy, somebody
Sure.
who's qualified for the job, someone who can be reasoned with. I mean, he has made statements already that have made me feel a little better. I mean,
Has he?
yeah. Statements that came immediately after the executive order and Trump's statements about the so-called judges. And Gorsuch came out immediately and said that he was extremely disappointed to hear the president of the United States say something like that, which is, exactly what he should have said.
Sure.
But also, a pretty big statement to make with the guy that's just nominated you for Supreme Court.
Right. I
So-
try not to, you're right, but I try not to have my standards lowered because of how bad this administration has been with their cabinet picks and all these I'm thankful he's not another Jeff Sessions.
Right.
But I also still have my standard of, well, he needs to be reasonable. And he's not reasonable at the end of the day. I don't think he is.
But you're not going to get anybody reasonable.
I know. I will. Well, at the end of the day, my problem really is that he's not Merrick Garland.
Exactly.
Well,
They had a whole year.
I agree, but that ship has sailed.
I know,
So
I know, I know.
you gotta let that go.
I realize that. But
There was some hope, and I put in a call to Joe Manchin's office to see if I could find out about anything. They didn't call me back, so I assume that
He's a busy man.
At least this. Well,
Too busy
it may
for
have
you,
been.
Dan.
I want to hear from you. But there may have been some discussions in Washington about cutting some kind of a deal, so that, for example, if Merrick Garland, if Gorsuch got an up or down vote, then Gorsuch would get an up or down
2000.
vote. Really? Yeah, that's nice.
Just now.
Nice.
But if Gorsuch got an up or down vote, then Merrick Garland would be the next nominee. So there was some discussion about some kind of a compromise, but that I think that probably is not going to happen. And I think Aaron is right that 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 ship has sailed. And so I mean,
It has.
I do feel like Gorsuch's positions are pretty, he's a much more polished, much less offensive version.
He did well in the hearings.
Of Antonin Scalia. I mean, Scalia used to tell people the fungu, he used to more or less swear at them. And Garland isn't that kind of guy. He doesn't have that kind of temperament. And he did say that he believes that a judge should be able to tell the president what the law says and what the truth is, and and that's somewhat reassuring.
That is very reassuring
Sure.
to me.
So I mean, we may have to live with this. I did have hope that if Gorsuch,
Guys, we're
got
going to
the-
have to live with it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Welcome, Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch.
I just hope RBG can hang on, so we don't have another one.
Me too.
That's all. But, like you said, ship has sailed. It is what it is. Now, here's another point. The Democrats. We have McCaskill, who's from
Missouri.
Mm-hmm. Her state went to Trump by 20 points.
Yeah.
I think the only state that went more to Trump is us. And she is opposing.
look at Wyoming
we're
or
number one.
Oklahoma.
We're number one. I know that.
Yeah, we're definitely number one.
But so McCaskill from this deep red state that went so heavily to Trump, she is filibustering.
Right.
She's for the filibuster, I should say. And our senator,
she's a strong defender.
She's a party
on women's
player, though,
issues.
and
that's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm just saying, she's a Democrat.
Yeah,
she's fine with resisting.
I mean, but you
our
did
senator
see,
is not.
You did see
our
Joe
senator's not
Manchin
going
is going to vote for him after having another meeting with him, and also Heidi Heitkamp, who's from another deep red state.
Right. Well, McCaskill was undecided for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
This was recent. This was in the past few days that she decided to.
And normally
Maybe
this
she
would not
waited
be
so it
that
would have more of an
unusual.
impact?
Normally that would not be that
No.
unusual for, especially a senator like Manchin, who is
Right.
who
That's sort of a
leans
centrist.
right. To vote yes. These are
Also
mostly,
voted for Jeff Sessions, by the way, Manchin.
Yeah, well, and Jeff Sessions is another issue
Yeah.
entirely.
But
Jeff
there's a pattern
Sessions
I'm
is
seeing
not
here.
Neil Gorsuch.
I'm seeing a pattern.
I don't
with
disagree.
Manchin.
But, with Supreme Court justices, the nomination is often seen as a fait accompli. It's very rare that you're going to have a
Unless
Clarence
there's something
Thomas or
really
something
wrong
like
with the
that
person.
comes up.
Yeah.
That's rare. Because normally, yes, the minority party is opposed, but you're the minority party, and therefore you lose. And so...
Democrats are so much better at losing when they're the minority than Republicans are.
Oh, that's true.
It just seems like when Republicans are in the minority, the Democrats don't get almost anything done. Obama's presidency, I mean, he got some stuff done, don't get me wrong, but there was so many things that were stopped and stymied. And Republicans are just running roughshod here because they're peeling off Democrats. Maybe not enough
Well, I don't think actually that the Republicans are running roughshod. I'd have to push back on that.
Sure, go
I
ahead.
think that, for example, there's and part of this I think is a direct result of Trump's low poll numbers. I mean, Trump's got the lowest
Absolutely.
poll numbers of any.
So then isn't that more reason for the Democrats to stand up and be like, no, we're not going to do this?
They are. I mean, for
But
example,
they don't have the numbers. So
yeah, I mean, in the Senate. I mean,
A united
it's gonna
front would be
tough.
nice. I guess maybe that's what I'm getting at.
Chuck Schumer did go ahead with the the filibuster, and he is running the risk of forcing McConnell's hand
Right.
into the nuclear option. So I mean, that's a pretty
Right.
risky game.
And
It is.
Schumer,
But-
Schumer
and
doesn't.
I'm glad he's doing
Schumer
that.
doesn't have a lot of personal risk, and that's why he can do it.
Sure.
I think that his seat is safe.
Yeah, it is.
And so
Yeah, but I think
you have
he
to look
also
at
is
it.
going to watch out for his caucus. I mean, he is going to watch
Absolutely,
out
he
for
will. Absolutely, he will. But I don't know. And here's the thing: is that, and I always say this about the Supreme Court, but it's especially true. Honestly, it's something that everybody should care about, and something that people don't.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
don't know. People don't care.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot invested in it. So I think if you're expecting to see a great groundswell from the public, calling and calling and calling like was done on a lot of issues, a lot of the executive orders and such, that's probably not going to happen here because too few
Right.
Americans just really
Pay attention.
know
to that.
or care
Well,
about
it
what the
was
Supreme Court
it was
does.
an issue that
and how important they are.
that
Right. That's
the
true.
Christian conservatives really played on during the last
Right.
election. I am
Oh, they
interested.
understand.
I am interested. I'd need to look up to see what, for example, some moderate Republicans like Susan Collins of Maine and what's the name of the woman in Alaska. Have said about Gorsuch, because he isn't really great on women's issues, and there's a
Absolutely
lot of
not.
risk there. And they may, they've been pretty good on defending choice
But here's the
other
thing:
things.
you defend it to what end? I mean, I think everybody has to decide how much risk's in it for you,
Right.
personally,
But that's where
in a fight that you're going to lose.
that's where you get back to the poll numbers, because the overall political climate then indicates what kind of the risk is.
But there is a difference between Donald Trump's poll numbers and the people who still would vote Republican.
Well, let me give you an example, because that's a very important point. But it's the two are not disconnected. There's a special election now in Georgia for the congressman, the member of the House of Representatives, who wants that seat to replace the Republican who became the DHHR secretary.
From where in Georgia?
It's a suburb of Atlanta, and it's a very, very Republican seat. It was it's always been assumed to be a solidly red seat. And this is is a very conservative district, and it was the place where, what's his name, Price, I forget what his first name, came from. Before he was nominated to serve in the cabinet. And there's a Democrat there. There's a multiplayer field. There's a bunch of Republicans, and they're splitting the vote. And there's a Democrat there who probably will get into the second round, if there's a second round, and there's an outside chance that he might actually get better than 50% and take a red seat. He's a young, charismatic Democrat. He's very moderate, and he's getting a ton of money, and he's getting a lot of support and energy. So watch that. Watch those special elections. Watch those kinds of situations, because if you have a Democrat winning in a conservative district in suburban Atlanta, outside Atlanta, a Republican district in Georgia, then Katie bar the door, because
If that happens, absolutely. And even if it doesn't, I don't think that necessarily means that the midterm elections are by any stretch of the imagination lost. I feel like that is going to be the bell. I mean, that's where it all lies right now.
I mean, it may turn into a referendum on the first 2 years of Trump's presidency, because Americans have shown a predilection to like split government, and to show that we want a Congress that's going to
they have, but we
to
still
push
always have the
back.
situation of but not my guy sort of thing.
That's
Right.
true. That's true.
I hate the forest, but this tree is nice.
Right.
Yeah.
I met him one time at the Safeway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
He looked
tree.
like a tree. He threw needles on you.
All right, so we got. Let's talk about this. Let's switch gears here. We have Trump is loosening restrictions on drone strikes. You're not hearing about this on CNN. You're not hearing about this anywhere, and it's frustrating to me. He's loosened restrictions on drone strikes.
I had heard very little
Which were
about
pretty
it.
loose already.
They were already loose. I didn't realize how tight apparently they were. Obama was kind of known.
There was always a procedure in the executive branch
Right.
in lieu of. I mean,
Obama was known as a
this was-
micromanager, and apparently, even though we were
We didn't
doing
really know
so
that.
much of it, but apparently he was micromanaging. That was micromanaging what we had. Now we have people on the ground. We have generals calling in drone strikes at whenever they want to, which I don't know might seem like a good idea if you're Donald Trump. But what we've had here, as just since he's been in office, and here's what we have. We have in Syria, we have 1,000 more ground troops going in.
Right.
1,000 going into Syria. Generals are asking for more ground troops in Afghanistan. Why? We've been there 15 years.
Stated purpose, please.
To
Why?
fight the Taliban.
Well,
Because
there's
we're just
there's
gonna-
a lot
There's a great
to
idea.
say.
The minute we leave,
Let's
the
keep
There's a
throwing
lot to
good money
say.
after bad.
Well, I mean,
There's
we're
a-
just going to leave and the Taliban's just going to come back. I mean, what? It's been 15 years. That's just one. Okay, next one. More ground raids in Somalia because of Al-Shabaab, I guess. Al-Shabaab. And the excuse is, well, we care about the people in Somalia. We care about the civilians.
No, we don't.
Okay, there's a drought and a
Since
famine
when?
in Somalia right now. There's a drought and a famine.
Yes, I think there are 6 countries in states of drought or famine.
5
right
million,
now.
Close
5
to
million
it.
people in Somalia need food right now. 363,000 children are, quote, acutely malnourished. Forgive me for sounding like a liberal hippie, but if we care about the people in Somalia,
Yeah.
why not send some food and aid, since that seems to be their primary problem? The primary problem is not Al-Shabaab. It's famine and drought. And we're increased drone strikes 432% in Somalia.
As the designated hawk at the table. Okay, I'm the designated
Oh, here we
interventionist.
go.
Here we go.
Punch you through that
The
window.
liberal interventionist.
All right.
I mean, this is drought and famine. Just to glance at that issue for a second, are man-made disasters. In other words, those problems in South Sudan, which is one of the countries that Aaron was talking about, problems in Somalia, problems in Yemen, you notice that all 3 of those countries are in a state of war. If it was just the weather, climate change. If it was just the
Now, see,
weather,
that's something you're not allowed to say.
Yeah.
it would be, that would be something that we would be able to deal with. But because these are, tottering states, maybe on the verge of, I think in Yemen we can say it's a failed state. Somalia, knock on wood, it's in the.
Getting there.
It's getting, well, it may actually be, we can cross our fingers and say that it's possible that it may be leaving a failed state status because they now have an elected president. And it's a very, it looks like they're going to possibly.
A cooperative president.
Yeah, he was elected by the rules that they set, and it was a genuine election. It was a genuinely contested election. But be that as it may, it is possible that military intervention may have worked in Somalia. It was largely an African-led effort, which has, Al-Shabaab has been mostly defeated.
They're decimated. Al-Shabaab is
and
decimated.
they're rolling back. So I don't think it's time to back away from that effort in Somalia. Now, similarly, and maybe
That's
more
not
problematically,
that's not helping the famine and the drought, though.
Well, but
that's
you
just
don't-
killing innocent people.
No, I don't think it is because you can't solve famine and drought. You can't bring in food. You can't bring in aid if you don't have a security situation that allows you to do it.
But I thought you just said the security was a lot better now.
Why can't we just drop it in?
It
Why
is
can't we just
better,
drop
but
it in? We can drop a bomb. Why
It's
not
too
instead of a
expensive.
bomb, a box of food?
It's too expensive. Airlifting, you do have.
We can afford the bomb, but you see what I'm saying? Like,
That's not the way the money's allocated, so it's not going to happen.
But
I
be
see.
that as it may.
You're right.
Be that as it may. My old saying is that the first job of a government is to be the government. In other words, the first job of the king is to be the king, to monopolize the use of force so that things can happen.
I think we already have a monopolization on force. I don't think we have to worry about that. That's not in danger.
But let me broaden the discussion here a little bit.
Sure.
Okay, because you were talking about Afghanistan. I mean, the military is always going to argue for more arms, more troops, more force, right? And actually, I think it's somewhat promising that Trump
That's their job. That's their role.
Is staying out of this, because I
Right.
think that the military actually is probably going to do a better job than Trump is. But be that as it may, they're always going to argue for more force. In Afghanistan, there is a real opportunity for an Afghan army to take over the job of the fight. And I know that people
I'm
don't
sorry.
believe that, but
I
let
don't.
me point out.
Well, here's the thing. We've
let me
heard
point
that
something
so
out.
many times
let
before.
me point something out.
What's changed?
Let me point out something about Afghanistan, and this is something I've been wanting to bring up in this week's show. There are now indications that the Russians are, believe it or not, supporting the Taliban. Now, this is an allegation. It's not proven, okay? But it makes sense to me, because we're seeing a Taliban that is getting some kind of support from outside of the country.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't entirely surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me either. It's obviously an opportunity to,
it's another proxy
stick their
war.
finger in NATO's eye.
Right.
But the point is that if the Taliban did not have this external support, they would probably be less effective, and the Afghans would probably have a better chance of doing this by themselves. I don't think we walk away from that now. I think we've invested enough. We're not seeing a lot of Americans being killed in Afghanistan. We're actually seeing some progress there, and
15
we're trying
years.
to. Yeah, I know.
And are we seeing any?
How much longer are we going to be
It's-
at it?
we're gonna be
Forever?
there as long
Are
as
you
we
okay
need
with
to
being
be.
there forever, if that's what it takes?
If it's 5,000 American troops, yeah. How long have we had thousands and thousands of American troops in South Korea?
Then if that's what it's going to be, then commit to
I don't want
that.
them there
Then
either.
commit to that, and say
Well, I will commit
this.
to that.
Well, thank you, but I
you're
mean,
not gonna-
then
you're not gonna-
say
I understand where you're coming from.
right.
You know.
I get it too, but I mean,
I mean,
then
we're an empire. The first job of the empire is to be the empire.
don't keep.
I think Rome knew that, right? Rome,
Yeah.
But
Rome
don't
operated.
keep
They
hiding.
turned out well.
Hiding your bushel. Say
Right.
what you're doing.
Right.
Say.
yes. Admit,
say
okay,
we don't think that this situation is ever going to be stabilized.
Right. If they were to
and
say that,
so
make
we
the case,
think-
and then we can have a discussion, an honest
Right.
discussion about it.
And
But
so
I
we
think-
are going to commit 5,000 troops to Afghanistan for the foreseeable future. Do not continue to say we're so close
Right.
to having the Afghani forces take over, because that's the same
Well,
story
they
we've been
largely
hearing for
have.
all these years. That's crap. It happens and then it goes back, and then
Right.
they
Waves.
Goes
can't
back-
sustain.
It's a dynamic
They can't
situation.
sustain.
They are still
But they can't
looking.
sustain.
They're sustaining a lot of it. I mean, they're really undertaking a lot of the fight here.
So
And
then
we're seeing
why
that
are we
the
sending more
Afghan-
people?
We're keeping the
Because-
crap at shoe level, right? Is essentially
Yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
saying, and I understand that. But 15
But let me
years.
point out a few more things. Okay, and these are things that I think are orthogonal in a sense to what we're talking about, but I think they're important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're talking about whether or not Mike Pence. You were talking about the Supreme Court is important and people don't pay attention to it. We're seeing this idiotic discussion of whether Mike Pence is willing to have dinner with a woman by himself, right? And I don't care. I don't care.
Who's talking about that?
Let me point out a couple
I have
of
no
things.
idea what you're talking
We're
about.
starting to see the Russians. There's a possibility that the Russians are supporting the Taliban.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to see the heating of the war in the Ukraine. We have a continuing fight against ISIS, which is very effective. We're seeing a fight against ISIS that's working.
They're losing.
They're losing,
But that's never going to
you
be
could
over
hardly
either.
be. Well, I disagree. I think there's I don't know that it's ever going to be great. We're not going to turn Syria into Switzerland, but it's we can defeat ISIS. But let me finish the
Which will
last
then be replaced
point.
by something else.
The last point, and this is the most important, is that there's a decent chance that in the near to mid-term, the North Koreans will have a nuclear-armed missile that can reach the contiguous United States. Okay?
Right.
And you can see why I don't give a whether Mike Pence has dinner with a woman.
Right.
Okay. I mean, and it really bothers me that we have an incompetent president, and I am modestly reassured, in spite of their instinctive, overuse of force, which I will admit to. But I am glad that the military is willing to take over this role, because I don't think that the White House is qualified.
Well, so far since the military has taken over, we've had 432% escalation in civilian deaths.
That's true.
And here's my problem. Okay,
And the escalation of deaths in Syria and in Iraq by fighting in that
escalation all across the board.
And these are
in
the ones
civilian
we'll
deaths.
admit to.
Now here's the thing, right? That's not even probably the real number. Now here's the thing about civilian deaths. Okay, remember Trump's raid as soon as he came into office?
Yeah.
Okay, 30 civilians dead. Didn't get what they wanted. All right, it's not working. And here's the thing: every time a civilian dies, let's talk about one civilian dying. There is a family, there are friends, there are acquaintances that will know he died because of an American bomb. They might not know that the bomb was intended for someone else. They have propaganda coming at them from all sides of all kinds of people with agendas trying to manipulate them. Islamic terrorism being one of the more prominent ones probably that they're seeing. ISIS, all these other folks, Al-Shabaab, whatever. When they see their friend and their family getting killed, this is one civilian, that they have a whole family, a whole friend, community, neighborhood, people they grew up with, all these people know that guy died because of an American bomb, and I guarantee you, one of these people are going to get mad at America. Some of those people that get mad at America are going to see this ISIS propaganda right after that.
I think
and
you're
we
oversimplifying.
create more terrorists.
I think you're oversimplifying. I think that if you
That's how you
have
create
a
terrorists.
situation in Iraq and in Syria where we're fighting against ISIS and we're helping the Iraqis liberate Mosul, it's a desperate house-to-house fight.
Well, okay,
and
I get.
you have civilians who die there. Okay, and that's a terrible problem, and we should address that, and we should
that's not what John's talking
help
about.
those people that
Right.
we can. Well, no, that's exactly what John's talking about, because the point is that
Well, we'll let John say what he's talking about then.
once the Iraqi forces, with the assistance of the United States, freeze Mosul, then that is an important sign that Iraq can defend itself, that it'll stand up for its own people against the worst kind
I
of
don't disagree
Islamic
with you, and I don't
extremism.
think that what John is saying, and
If
I
we're-
mean, we
speak
have
for
to
you,
fight
but
against
I
these
don't think he's
people.
saying that.
We have a job to
I
fight
get that.
against ISIS.
Right,
He's not
I
saying
agree.
he's not saying that there will be no civilian
if
deaths.
we have this a wonderful scenario where we're able to just go in there, blow these people out of the water, and then create this perfect little space where they defend themselves, and now everything looks good, and now the Islamic radical Islamic terrorism propaganda doesn't really hold water with the people because they saw America come in and liberate the place, and then the place can stand up on its own 2 feet. So far, that hasn't happened yet. We've been doing this since I was in middle school. So far, that has not happened. Iraq is still in turmoil. The Middle East is worse off since we've been doing this, and we've created more terrorists.
From what, 100,000 troops in Afghanistan to 15,000?
Right,
Was
I
it
agree.
10 or 15,000?
Right.
I mean, we went through, whatever it was,
Yeah,
a
but
quarter
then we
of
were
a million
in a state
troops
of all-out war
in Syria and
versus-
Iraq to a few thousand. Yes. I mean, it's not a clear. I mean, and that's the part of the problem with the Trump doctrine is that we have all this force and we're going to come in and use it and it's going to be easy.
But to get back to John's
Right.
point about civilian casualties, I think that, unfortunately, it isn't that simple. Civilian casualties are a unfortunate.
Right, and there's no way to
necessary
gauge.
byproduct
There's no
of
way to
war.
gauge how much damage we're doing with each civilian death until 20 years go by, and some of them have become radicalized, and we're fighting them somewhere else later on. Anyway, to me, it looks like it perpetuates itself. Let's go into a pitch here. All right, let's talk about how the Community radio, supporting community radio will get you
An
conversations like the ones we're
opportunity
having
to
right now.
have an argument on the air.
Right. I mean, who else is going to do that? Nobody. So let's talk about this.
No, I mean, that's a good point, because I don't think that this discussion that we've just had would be on the air anywhere else.
No.
Not
Anonymous
in
just
Charleston.
gave us $50. Thank you, Anonymous.
Thank you,
Please don't
Anonymous.
hack me. I assume you're the bad Anonymous.
I assume you're the good anonymous.
John's a little upset because we had this argument during the middle of his show.
It's
I
no,
told
this is
you
what-
we were taking over. Man.
This is what, it's fine. You know what? Y'all can have it. I'm out of here. Bye.
See, but that's what we don't do in Afghanistan. We don't
Right.
we don't walk away.
This is in the middle of a pitch for our.
The dude gave us $20. Thank you, the dude.
Hey, dude.
Or no, he gave us 10.
He's
Thank
not
you anyway.
he's not the Lebowski. He's the dude or the
He's the
dudester.
dude.
DOOD, the dude. Why don't you go ahead and
Or-
donate? I'll read your name on the air. You got about 1 minute. 1 minute as of right now. You got 1 minute to donate, and I'll read your name on the air.
You're
WTSQ.org.
Lebowski. I'm the dude.
You know,
or the duderino if you're not.
We
into
really
the
need a
whole
rug in
revenue
here. It would tie the place together.
thing. It really would. Go to WTSQ.org.
At the $40 level, you get a T-shirt. By the way, we didn't mention this last time. Taylor Books, matching every dollar. Okay? Shout out to Taylor Books.
For new contributors.
Go get some poetry books. They got 20% off their poetry books,
They
right?
do.
And that was a great. I mean, that
It's
was a
National
great
Poetry Month.
discussion that you're not going to get on the air anywhere else. There was this. I was listening to it on the radio in the car on the way in. Aaron was talking about poetry and about what the bestsellers at Taylor Books
Yes.
this week, and you're just not going to hear that anywhere else.
Dan read a lovely poem by Billy Collins. You're not going to get that
I
anywhere
love
else.
Billy Collins.
Yes, that was nice. That was really
was
good.
very
I'm
nice.
so bad at poetry. I'm reading it. I'm so bad at writing it. I've tried it, but good Lord, do I respect it,
Go
man!
to
What an
WTSQ.
interesting.
Go
yeah.
to WTSQ.org and write us poetry while you're writing us a
Write
check.
us some poetry. Hold on. Let's see. Let me refresh. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Mountain State Up. You can tweet us, be on the show, disagree with me, agree with me.
Send us $150 and you can shut my fat mouth.
All right, you can come on the show and tell Dan to shut up.
You can spend your whole time doing that. You can just program
you
the
could.
show. So yeah,
We would let you. We would allow you to do that. In fact,
they
we
have
would.
to. I think it's a contract.
All right, guys. Thanks.
And I
thanks.
would shut up.
Thanks for listening, y'all. We'll be back next week, Sunday at noon, for your afternoon political sermon on WTSQ, LP 88.1 in Charleston.